Hello everyone! This is Katie Colleen here. Welcome back Colleen Clan, or if you're new, then come join the family. For a Valentine's Day design of Ms.Joke from My Hero Academia, for a cosplay build in a weekend, for a cosplay made from my scraps. This video is a lot of things, actually. So you may remember that I did a holiday version of Ms.Joke. It was very hastily put together. That is actually my Rock Lee bodysuit with my Christmas Karin coat on top. So it was really just a mashup of random cosplay pieces. Not my best work, if I'm gonna be honest. And that was for a My Hero holiday collab. So now I am preparing for My Hero Valentine's Day collab. So this is the design I drew out for Valentine's Ms.Joke, but I did want to kind of tie in some elements of her hero costume as well. So we have the design, we have the goal. Let's just jump into the materials and the patterns, and let's just start, cranking out this cosplay and see what we can get done. So our first material I want to talk about is this dress. So this is a vintage dress I bought off another cosplayer a year or two ago. So the outside looks really pretty, it fits really well, but the inside, it needs some help. That's how the inside looks. So this dress was never properly lined. So you can see that the seam allowance was kind of tacked down on the inside, but it wasn't quite enough to prevent fraying. And furthermore, there is a kind of lining skirt layer, but it is tearing off completely. So I need to do some mending work, but I would like to make the lining just so it's cleaner on the inside and hopefully can kind of slow down the fraying and the tearing on the inside seams. So I'd like to kind of help preserve the dress a bit more. My fabric stash has gotten a little bit out of hand since we moved into the nice big house and I had more space to store it. So I actually have 2 white fabrics and 2 red fabrics to use. So here is a red and white non-stretch fabric. I'd like to use this for the apron and the little collar piece. So this is red satin from my Carmen Christmas dress I made last month. And here is a white twill from a cosplay project I wanted to do, but it never happened. I usually try to avoid using 2 different fabrics of the same color, since if they're even just a little bit off, it doesn't quite look right. But this is supposed to be a really easy and chill cosplay build, so I've decided it's okay, because I don't want to battle with making like a little structured collar out of a stretch, and I also don't want to battle with making like a little forearm cuff out of a non-stretch. So we're letting it happen this time. I can use 2 types. And then I have a red and white stretch. So this is leftovers from my Supergirl cosplay. I have a white stretch here too. So all of this here is from my Felicia cosplay. I played around with quite a bit of white trim for that cosplay, so I have a few options. And if that doesn't work, I also have some white lace that I can make my own trim with if I need to. I have some Valentine's Day themed buttons. I have the pink lining that I can use for the dress. Then I have air dry clay for some of the accessories as well. Okay, so for patterns, for the dress lining, I can just kind of lay out the dress and get the pattern from that. And then I have an apron pattern, and then I have a collared shirt pattern if I want to use that to get the little collar piece. Since I'd like to finish this whole cosplay this weekend, potentially, I want to start with the things that are going to take some time to dry, which in this case is the air dry clay. So this is going to be for her little heart piece. So I'm going to start with that, and then everything after that is really just sewing, and there's a lot of sewing to do. Here's how the belt piece turned out. I think it's a little cute, a little cursed. So I'm gonna set this aside for a day and move on to some sewing. Next, I'd like to work on the lining layer for the dress. Small disclaimer, I'm sure this is not the proper way to do this, but it's a lining layer. I'm kind of laying out each piece like that. So for the front piece, I'm kind of folding it like that, and then I'm laying the muslin over it. And the muslin is a little sheer, so I can kind of see through it. And then I am sketching out the pattern. Here's how it looks with this seam allowance added. So I just added about 1/4 of an inch to all of the edges of the pattern, and this is ready to sew together. It's just like every other bodice I've sewn together. Front, side, back, back, and you just sew all those pieces together. Here's our dress, and here is our new lining layer. I went a little crazy with the serging, but I kind of felt like I had to because this was fraying everywhere. I'll need to do a lot of hand sewing. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going to take this lining layer, kind of fold over the edge, and then take the dress and hand sew this along the edge here. The hand sewing is taking a while because the more I hand sew that lining down, the more I'm realizing this dress is really beat up. It looks like the zipper has been taken in and put out about 3 different times. So the fabric itself in the back is now starting to tear because of all the times it has been sewn and torn apart. It also looks like the straps were taken in and adjusted a few times as well. So the straps are also starting to like rip apart. So this dress overall is like in much worse shape than I originally thought. So I decided I would take a break from that because I don't want to be hand sewing for like 5 or 6 hours straight. And I'm gonna jump into the apron piece. All the apron pieces are cut out. So here's the lining layer. Here is how the apron's gonna look. It'll be a little bit gathered at the top, so that'll be our apron. And then for the outside layer of the apron, I will have all the stripes. So this is supposed to kind of resemble her hero shorts that she has in her hero costume. So I have 8 white stripes and 8 red stripes. So basically I just have to sew these all together in alternating red, white, red. And then I have pockets that I can sew in. I thought that would be kind of fun. And then I have the waistband. Instead of having a straight waist, I'm going to have it go into a V shape. This is the shape of her belt on her hero costume. So I felt like it'd be kind of cool if the belt for the apron could kind of resemble at least the shape of her belt. Look at those crisp seams. Okay, that is our apron. Let's, I guess, mess around with how we want to decorate it. Or maybe we don't decorate it at all. Why does my machine embroider radishes? So I'm thinking there was the one heart design I actually liked. I feel like that could go on the edge for at least some of these. Maybe every other one. So maybe I put hearts on this one and then hearts on these ones. I think that could be fine. I have both layers and I sandwiched lace between it. Now that alone is not too hard, but I decided I really wanted pockets, and like these are big pockets. Like, so basically what I had to do was put the lace in between these two layers, except when a pocket happens, the lace actually needs to be sandwiched instead between the outside layer and the pocket. So when you're sewing around, you sew around the rectangle and you just take a little detour and sew around the pocket. I hope that makes sense. So then when we flip this inside out, we have all of our lace along the edge. And then where the pocket is, you see there's still lace here, but there's a pocket behind it. So I will need to kind of gather it up like that, and that's how the apron will look at the end. So that's what we're gonna do next. I wanted to show you guys like the full outfit. I'm not quite done fixing the dress yet. I still have, you know, a few things to tack down, and it looks so cute. Have the little heart on my belt like that. Oh, that is so cute. I still can make the wrist cuffs and the little neck collar, and I need to paint this. Okay, we are at the 48-hour mark with our air dry clay. So this is how it looks. It actually started cracking on the front too. I didn't think there was any way it would crack more, but like, oh, it is very cracked. You can see it's kind of cracking onto the front now. Very unfortunate. It has a layer of Mod Podge on it already. So next we'll be painting it. If I get around to making Ms.Joke's cannon outfit, I'm definitely gonna use foam for the little smiley faces instead of clay. I've learned my lesson. This was not really the way to go, but on the bright side, like, I'm probably only going to wear at least this piece of the costume like maybe once or twice ever. So after it has done its job for the photo shoot, it may just go in the garbage. Sorry, cute and yet cursed Smiley Heart. So we are back to finish the very last pieces of this project. So first for the collar piece, I have some pattern pieces here. I have a front piece, a back piece, a neckband, and a collar. So I'm basically just taking the kind of collar and very top of the shirt pattern, and I'll be just sewing that. So I'm gonna cut that out into our silk, and I also have interfacing, so I can interface our collar, and I think I'll add a little bit of trim on it as well. Then for the wrist cuffs, I have the wrist cuff pattern I made when I made my Lucy cosplay, so I'll just make this a little bit longer, and then I will cut that out in my stretch, and I'm gonna do more stripes, which, like, it's kind of annoying and tedious, but like it looked really good on the apron. So I'm gonna just sew even more stripes. And then I have ruffle trim that I think I will put on the end like that. Okay, so here is our collar piece. I'm not really sure what to think about it. I won't really know until I try it on with the dress. I feel like it kind of helps, you know, tie it back to Ms.Joke's hero costume, but also this design is like pretty far from the costume, so like it's definitely kind of hard to say. And with the collar piece pretty much done, all that's left will be the wrist pieces. We've pretty much finished the whole cosplay this weekend, which is really crazy. It's been so long since I did one of these really quick cosplay builds. So with that being said, let's move on to the final reveal of my Valentine's Day design of Ms.Joke from My Hero Academia. Hello! Welcome to my green eyebrows. I feel like this makeup makes me look like a watermelon. So I was intending to film the outro while wearing the cosplay, but it was really cold outside, and the moment I was done with the showcase, I got inside as fast as possible and changed into something warmer. So final thoughts on Valentine's Ms.Joke. I was originally really worried it just wouldn't read as Ms.Joke. I had this same concern with the holiday version of Ms.Joke. When I got all the final pictures, I looked at it and I was like, I'm not sure this even really reads as Ms.Joke. I feel I did much better on her Valentine's Day design. I think a lot of it references back to her hero costume really well. It felt fun to wear. It's just cute. I think I will reuse pieces of it in the future. I think the apron is just the most adorable. It's so adorable, and it has pockets. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!